In this forecast, the possibility of multiple rounds of severe weather is expected across the Central Plains this week. Storms are expected to have the possibility of being significant storms. Hazards include the possibility of tornadoes, large hail, and damaging wind gusts. Everything you need to know on Project Gladiator. Hello everyone and welcome back to another Project Gladiator weekly overlook, and today I'll be covering the weather for the week of April 29th until around May 5th. So let's start off with our Jetstream pattern and how that's going to lead to our weather for this week. There are two main things that we are going to be watching for. First off is going to be this pretty strong jet that's going to impact the northern Central Plains with a little bit of a shortwave trough associated with it. This will definitely lead to the risk for severe thunderstorms across the northern Central Plains. Some uncertainty does remain with this system, but we will definitely have more details by the time this comes into our medium range and we get more high resolution model guidance. And then we are expected to get another round here with a more defined trough that is kind of going to impact this same location in the northern plains there into the Midwest. And this will also definitely lead to the potential of severe thunderstorms. We may even be able to get potentially another trough behind it towards the end of the week, which may be able to support the potential for some severe thunderstorms in the same location. It really comes down to a multitude of factors, though, and there is definitely uncertainty that I have with this, mainly with the positioning of the trough, because we still have to have moisture that needs to surge all that way up north to support the risk for severe thunderstorms. And with multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms moving through this region, we may not really have the best moisture that far north to really support too much crazy stuff from happening. A lot of model guidance has agreed on development further down to the south across the Central Plains, down into Oklahoma, and even down into Texas in some regions. That is definitely certainly possible with more of an abundance of moisture, but it really all depends, because we still have to have our moisture return, and we have to watch how well it returns, especially behind our storm systems that we had this week. So definitely some uncertainty with that, but we could definitely be in for multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms this week across the central and northern Central Plains into the Midwest. Taking a look at our composite reflectivity or our simulated radar, so we can go over some timing for our storms this week, and when and where you are expected to see our rain showers and potentially our severe thunderstorms. So let's start off with what's currently ongoing. As of right now, we do have a cold front that is currently progressing eastward across the eastern half of the United States. That is leading to some widespread rainfall up across the eastern half of the United States, and some heavy rainfall up into the Midwest as well, into portions such as Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, even back into the northern Central Plains there. We also have some development over across the Rockies there. That is likely mostly snowfall with potentially some additional rainfall development within there, but it does seem to be mostly snowfall. As we move into the 30th and May 1st, we are expected to see the majority of this rainfall that has been progressing across the eastern half of the United States mainly impact the eastern seaboard on the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains and into the Appalachian Mountains as well. And definitely could see the potential of maybe some flash flooding. We shouldn't really see too much of a potential with severe thunderstorms with that system, though. But for May 1st, though, this is when it really begins to kick off, around the 30th to May 1st, where we could see the potential of some severe weather development across the Central Plains, even down into the northern and potentially even all the way into the southern Central Plains as well. This is going to be ahead of that first wave that we're going to see with that strong upper level jet there. And then we are expected to see our second round of storms on May 1st or May 2nd across the Central Plains there, and then we're going to see an additional round on the 2nd and the 3rd as well, with that second trough that we are expected to see towards the middle of the week. And we could definitely see the potential of severe thunderstorms that may extend all the way down to Texas, as well as all the way up north to South Dakota and North Dakota. And then for the second half of the week, towards the end, we could see the potential of some development further down to the south, mainly across the central to southern plains. With that third trough that's going to be behind that second trough moves out of the region, we will have to rely on our subtropical jet in the south there to support the potential of severe thunderstorms. And we could definitely see the potential for severe thunderstorms that may fire due to that subtropical jet this week. So mainly the Central Plains could see the potential of multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms, and there's definitely potential for them to be significant, but it does rely on a couple of factors. Taking a look at our temperatures and how those are expected to be affected throughout this week by our storm systems. Starting off with what's currently ongoing, we have a lot of heat that is currently built up across the majority of the United States, with temperatures in the 80s and even the 90s for some portions of the southern plains, and even across portions of the eastern seaboard there, with some widespread temperatures in the 80s. Spring is definitely in full swing. There's definitely no questions asked about that, so we are bound to see some really hot temperatures across the majority of the U.S. this week. However, in the north, we could definitely see temperatures that may swing around from time to time due to those cold fronts and those low pressure systems that are going to be passing through the northern half of the United States. So the northern central plains, the Midwest, as well as the New England corridor, and potentially even down into portions of the southern Midwest and the Ohio River Valley may see some noticeably cooler temperatures on some days, but it will definitely be very, very warm for the majority of the week. Taking a look at our surface-based CAPE, or in other words, our fuel for severe thunderstorms, and how that is going to affect our risk for severe thunderstorms this week, and our uncertainties with our storm fuel for this week and our risks for severe thunderstorms. What has been indicated by the majority of models is that we are expected to see a extreme quick surge of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico here, and that will definitely lead to some pretty strong instability or storm fuel across the Central Plains, which will definitely be set in place to fuel our risk for severe thunderstorms this week. However, it does rely on how quickly our storm fuel is able to return to the Central Plains, especially just after a cold front pushes through on Sunday. So we will definitely really need to be watching carefully to see how quickly our storm fuel is able to return to the Central Plains. If it can return quickly, we could definitely see a pretty large risk for severe thunderstorms, as we will definitely have a pretty sufficient storm fuel extend all the way up into the regions that will be mostly impacted by that trough. It will definitely be a little bit lower compared to further down in the south across Kansas and Oklahoma, but we could still see the potential for storms to fire in that very strong storm fuel pool there further down to the south in Kansas and Oklahoma, even down all the way into Texas. And we will definitely have to watch to see how our instability is going to be affected through this week by our various systems, because we do have that other system, that second system that is expected to move through the region, which will likely be overall more impactful to our storm fuel pool across the United States, and will definitely clear out the majority of our storm fuel. So depends on how much storm fuel is going to be cleared out of the United States, how far south that cold front is expected to extend, and how much is going to clear out. But if a lot of instability is able to remain across the southern Central Plains, that second trough may be able to dip far enough south to fire off the potential of severe thunderstorms. Even not, we could still see the potential of severe thunderstorms being fired off across this region, where we have a lot of storm fuel in place due to our subtropical jet across this region. So even if we do have a little bit of uncertainty as far as our storm fuel, we are still bound to see the potential for severe thunderstorms, and we could definitely see the potential for significant severe thunderstorms, depending on how quickly and how strong our storm fuel is expected to be across the United States. Again, regardless, we could still see the potential of severe thunderstorms across the Central Plains. That is definitely not out of the question. Taking a look at our supercell composite and how that will indicate our risk for severe thunderstorms this week, keep in mind our supercell composite doesn't give us a percentage for the risk for severe thunderstorms, but it does combine every parameter in the atmosphere to give us an overall risk for the potential of severe thunderstorms. It is definitely more of a composite model, as it combines a lot of different parameters. Again, it doesn't give us a percentage, but it is a very good indicator of what the risk for severe thunderstorms may look like and how likely severe storms may be, depending on how strong our supercell composite parameters are. So for May 1st and April 30th here, you can see that we have some really strong supercell composites across the Central Plains. These are definitely extremely strong supercell composites, upwards of 27 to 25 across the Central Plains there, amongst our really strong instability in storm fuel. Even with our trough being potentially a little bit more to the north, we will still see sufficient forcing far enough south to support the risk for severe thunderstorms across the Central Plains. And these supercell composite parameter values are definitely no joke. These are really high for our low resolution models, and are definitely very indicative of the potential of severe thunderstorms across the Central Plains this week. And this will continue to linger on for the majority of the week as well, indicating that we could see the potential of multiple rounds of severe thunderstorms for the Central Plains and the Northern Central Plains, even into the Midwest. And then we have that clearing that is expected to happen, with a lot of our instability being pushed further down to the south and further off to the east. But we could still see the potential of severe thunderstorms indicated by our supercell composite parameter values due to that subtropical jet. So even with the lack of strong instability, we will still see definitely sufficient instability that will definitely be in that moderate range and will be sufficient to fuel the potential of severe thunderstorms across the southern Central Plains in the Mississippi River valleys. Taking a look at our energy elasticity index values and how that will indicate the potential for tornadoes across the United States this week. This is kind of like supercell composite parameter, where it combines a multitude of factors in the environment to give us an overall risk for tornadoes. This doesn't give us a percentage like supercell composite doesn't either. It is a really good indicator for where our ingredients for tornadoes is expected to set up and where we could see the potential for tornadoes. So where our energy elasticity index values are indicating the potential of tornadoes being is across the Central Plains on April 30th and May 1st. I do have some questions about this. Even with the majority of our forcing being to the north there, some models have agreed that a low-level jet is expected to develop, and that will supply this region with one of our most important ingredients for tornadoes, which is directional shear. So if our low-level jet can set up across this region, which could definitely be on a little bit more of the weaker side of things due to the fact that we don't really have a whole lot of forcing aloft, and our trough is a little bit more to the north. But if we can get a strong low-level jet going, and we can see a lot of directional shear being generated across this environment, even with our insane amount of storm fuel across this region, that will definitely be very supportive of the potential of tornadoes across this region. And our energy elasticity index values continues to support the potential for tornadoes across the Central Plains up until around May 2nd and May 3rd, where we are expected to see that cold front push the majority of our instability further down to the south and to the east. We won't really see too much of a risk for tornadoes across the eastern half of the United States because our instability is expected to die out, but we could see our instability linger across the southern Central Plains into the Mississippi River valleys, and with our subtropical jet across this region, that will definitely supply this region with at least a little bit of directional shear, which is, again, is one of our most important ingredients for tornadoes, which could definitely support a tornado risk for the southern Central Plains anywhere from May 3rd to May 5th. Taking a look at what the SPC currently has issued as far as our risks for severe thunderstorms this week. For today, we do have 3 marginal risks across the United States, one for the Mississippi River Valley into the Dixie states, as well as southern Texas, as well as up into eastern Michigan there, where we could see the potential of some isolated weaker severe thunderstorms. For tomorrow, we do have a slight risk across the northern Central Plains into the Midwest there for southern Minnesota, southeastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, western Iowa, and northwestern Missouri there, with a marginal threat that extends all the way down into central and western Texas, where we could see the potential for a couple of tornadoes, scattered damaging wind gusts that could definitely be significant, as well as the potential for some large and potentially significant hail tomorrow. And then for our day 3 outlook, we do have a slight risk for our day 3 outlook, which is May 1st there for the Central Plains, where we could see the potential of some scattered severe thunderstorms for the Central Plains there for southern Nebraska, central Kansas, western into central Oklahoma, and central into northwestern Texas there, with a marginal threat that extends all the way up into Nebraska and Iowa. This does have a combined risk of a 15%, with the potential of seeing significant severe thunderstorms for the Central Plains there. So the potential for significant severe thunderstorms is definitely on the table for this week. And then for day 4, day 8 outlook, surprisingly enough, we don't have any areas that are currently issued for our day 4 to day 8 outlook, which is actually kind of surprising because I did think that the SPC would have had at least 1 or 2 areas highlighted this week for the Central Plains because of those multiple rounds that we are expected to see and the abundance of instability that we're going to have. So even regardless of forcing, we will still see the potential of severe thunderstorms, some of which could definitely be significant, but we will definitely have to watch for our various factors in how that may affect our risk for severe thunderstorms. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the areas I covered for this week, please stay weather alert for the time being. If you notice anything might have been wrong in this forecast, forecast, or would like to make a suggestion or ask a question, please leave a comment. 3 other channels I highly suggest you check out are One Nation Weather, Weather Watcher, and JaxonWX, and hopefully I'll be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.